Hi, it's Jessie. I'm back again. And a question came in my feed for me. Pull my hair. It said, uh, why does everyone hate you? And the truth is, everyone doesn't hate me. The truth is that a few people have hurt me really bad in my life and then tried to run around and control my narrative around me. The truth is that they ruined my reputation. The truth is that they told people stories about me that weren't true, but they told them these stories so that they could hate me, you know? Everybody had their strings pulled. But in reality, people don't hate me. Um, God, He's my cheerleader. You know why I call God my cheerleader? Um, he comes and He helps me. He lifts me up when I'm down. How does He lift me up when I'm down? Well, I'll be going to the grocery store, and then all of a sudden I'll have someone show extreme kindness to me. You know, they'll let me go before them in the line. They'll talk to me. They'll compliment me. They're exceptionally nice to me, right? That's not just it. That's not the only reason why I say God is my cheerleader. You know, I used to live with my children's grandparents, and these people never did anything, like anything. Like they had two driveways. One was like a 9-car driveway, and they didn't shovel it. And so one time my son slipped on the ice and bumped his head. And after that, I was like, I got to shovel this driveway. And though my muscles were stiff and I had a hard time walking, I was still like, I had to shovel this driveway, right? So while I'm out there shoveling the driveway, someone just walks up to me and takes the shovel out of my hand and begins shoveling it for me. And then the snowplow comes along and finishes off the job, you know? That's God. He's my cheerleader. He shows me kindness in this way. My children's grandmother, Faye, she used to ask me, how do I get people to do things, you know? And I was like, I don't get people to do things for me. They just do things for me out of the kindness of their hearts, you know? But it's God. He's my cheerleader. He moves people to do things for me, you know? When you understand that the world's been in exile for a really long time. They don't know who God is or what God does. They got all these ideas. They're like friends of Job's. They're selling you a dream. You know, they're telling you who God is, but you're not able to experience Him in your life, and so your faith is weak, and there's this huge disconnect, you know, where when the church does wrong, you want to believe that that's God, and it's not, you know, because if the church was not there anymore, God would still be there, you know. God came to me before I had any relationship in the church, you know. God and the church are two separate entities, you know. The church is supposed to be God's representative on the earth, right? And it's supposed to be God's hands in the earth, but there's like major flaws in the theology, what we teach about God in the church. And they keep telling me, go to church. And I'm like, why would I go to church? It's not church hurt. It's the theology, and the theology drives the ministry. And when the ministry gobbles you up, then you're like, this is not salvation. You know, this is abuse. You know, this is you trying to subdue me, you gaslighting me, you making me think that I'm someone I'm not. It's not God, you know? That's not what God's representative in the earth does, you know? And what's wrong with the theology, right? Well, in the Christian church, you know, Christ is the head and the church is the body, right? What's wrong with this theology? Well, Christ said, eat me. Jesus said, eat me and you'll be saved. He said, you won't know life unless you eat me. So when you have the head saying this, you know, and then you got the body here on earth, then you automatically have a target put on your back, eat me. You're telling the world, eat me because I will, you know, it's a great honor for me to die for you, you know, and we get the message wrong. The world gets the message wrong, you know, and it takes me back to the garden. I was reading through this old notebook a while ago, you know, and I got this notes about Adam and Eve in the garden, where God was like, "Who told you you were naked?" So some of the things that I wrote down, when God says, "Who told you?" He's saying, "Who set this order for you that said that this is the way you're to be covered?" Remember, friends of Job? They tell you how you're supposed to be, but it's not always in line with what God says, right? So where do they get their ideas from? Why did they need to cover things up the way that they covered things up? You know, when you can live freely in the presence of God naked, you know, when you don't need covering, when you can stand there naked and unashamed and whole with your integrity intact, when you can not have to be afraid that God would disown you, you know. Who told you to change the order and put your salvation in your own hands, you know? Who told you that, you know? So we think about how people think that they've been hurt in life and they can justify their crimes by, you know, covering them up in this way. And they do a lot of damage. I don't like victims, right? I really don't like victims. Victims make things messy because people are talking out of pain and they're not talking out of good sense. They're not talking out of reason. They're hungry to eat someone. There's nothing like somebody being hurt to make them rise up and you know, take off Goliath's head, right? There's nothing like that. And then they get stuck in this mindset where if you're the victim, then you're justified to go out and hurt other people, right? And so they're always crying about their victimhood so that they can keep things up in arms, you know, up in arms, you know. God, he doesn't like things up in arms. He says your enemy's life means just as much to him as yours does. He says that he'll settle things. He says those who bless you are blessed and those who curse you are cursed, you know. He doesn't, he's not your pit bull. He's not your well, we say he's our shield, you know, our buckler. We rest under his shadow, right? This is when God is God all by himself. But when we start breaking off branches and going out to beat people off, then God is no longer himself and he has to leave, you know? Because if his function is to provide shelter, to bring peace, then you have to understand that there's nothing that can justify you wielding the power of God. You just can't do that, you know? So who told you that the order was supposed to be that way? Who told you that you could justify doing someone wrong just by ruining their reputation, even if they haven't done anything wrong? Who told you that you could ruin someone's reputation? You know, who told you that you could make someone who confessed to abusing children into a victim, to say that I ruined their life? Who told you that? Who told you that you could make me out to be like a Karen who watches hockey when I don't watch hockey, or drinks Starbucks coffee when I never drink coffee? It's disgusting to me. Who told you that I drink wine? Who told you? Who told you? Because I don't drink wine. I never drink wine. Give me a pina colada, but don't send wine my way, you know? And don't pick up my son to substantiate your lies about wine, because the only time anyone has ever drinking wine in my house was Nicolette Norris, and she drank that by herself, you know? I don't like prohibit wine drinking in my house, not by adults, but I don't join in on it because I don't like the taste of wine. I also don't like the taste of beer. I would never touch beer. Pina colada, you know? Vodka and lemonade. Don't put this nasty stuff on me, this fermented crap. I don't touch that crap. Who told you? Who told you to go and ruin my reputation with these lies, you know? It's just blasphemous, you know? And in the church, the one who doesn't get forgiven is the one who blasphemes. The one who blasphemes the Holy Spirit, to be more precise. But if you blaspheme anyone, you've blasphemed the Spirit, right? And so the thing is, we say, who sets the standard? Where you got to be mindful of where they're leading you, and are you sure you want to keep up with that nonsense? These are questions that you should be asking yourself in life, because if you want to be upright and in good standing with God, then you have to be mindful that you can't be covered the way that you're covered. You can't hurt people the way that you hurt people. There's no justification for it. You don't get to do it. We say that it's the police job to investigate crimes, right? And that's understandable, but the way that they go about it has to be done with great care, because there's a very thin line in between getting a confession and coercing or extorting or beating a confession out of somebody, And if you read your Bible, Dan has no share. Why? Why does Dan have no share in the world to come? Because he's a snake in the road. He's a snake in the road, right? But if you look at snakes, snakes grow out of their own skin, and they leave their old skin behind. So when your covering no longer suits you, when it's stunting your growth, you come out of it, and then you have to find a new way of being, You can't remain as you are forever. You just can't do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for anybody. It makes the world a much worse place. And you have to be mindful in life, because it's not just your life that you're building as you come with this breath. A lot of people waste a lot of time doing a lot of things. Like I waste time watching TV all the time. I waste time looking at nonsense on the computer all the time. But I'm in a pit and I have no opportunities available to me, I waste a lot of time. So I can relate to getting caught up wasting time. But then I also come on here and I tell you what my deep thoughts are. I tell you about the things I think about. I tell you what's wrong in the world. I tell you how to fix them, I try to get you reconciled back with God, So I try to bring purpose back into my life. And through this purpose that I have, my life finds value, my life finds meaning. But who out there that's wasting time is thinking about how do we bring purpose and value into our lives and out into the world, If you're not engaging in this, then your life truly is wasted, right? And we can't waste what God gave us, God gave us this life for purpose, and if the world is bad, then we have to change it. We have to fix it, So I know I'm getting a lot in such a short period of time. I hope that you can keep up with me, because I'm kind of talking fast, right? Just going through these notebooks. And a few years ago, I wrote some notes down on America based on something I heard other people say from other nations, right? So what can we say about America, right? I'm going to help you to become better people by showing you what other people think of you, right? So America is characterized by unrealistic expectations. Yeah, we got a lot of those unrealistic expectations. Like we think that we're so much more than we're not, and we get ourselves so high because we eat the wrong things. We think that if we can eat a lot of people, then that makes us more powerful. We think that if we can subdue a lot of people, that makes us more powerful. But really it doesn't, and that leads us into unrealistic expectations, where we start making baseless accusations against people, or start like, I have no opportunities available to me. If you're going to condemn me for wasting my time, show me the opportunity that you gave to me that didn't involve leaving my children. Show me. Because every opportunity that they gave to me had it was contingent upon me leaving my children behind, and that's utter bullshit. Pardon my French. But no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And the fact that you would make such an offer to me. Um, that that says that it wasn't really an opportunity. It says that you were just trying to position me and you were baiting me with empty promises, you know? And what's that say about you while you're sitting up there leading 15 million people? What's that say about you? You know, you got to be you got to be aware of who America is, because basically we got unrealistic expectations and we all follow after somebody who's eating someone unjustly because we think that they're so powerful. They're not really. So what else is wrong with America? Routine processes. Routine processes. What is that? Like every day we go to school, you know? School in the morning to the afternoon, you know? Go to work 9 to 5, you know? Routine processes. Not when the work needs to be done, you know? You, and if you finish early, they just pile more work on you, you know? Which basically it provokes stress and it contaminates the environment, right? Our routine processes are destroying us, you know. Everybody says get in a routine and you'll be better, but when you're living on the clock, you know. I said something the other day about my daughter's classmates complaining to her that her teacher needed to shut up, and it's because they were living on the clock. The routine had eroded their love of learning, you know? When you're alive, you see, when you're alive, you always want to grow. You always want to be more. You always want to learn more about the world. But when you get caught up in these routine processes, it stunts your growth. It contaminates the environment. You watch the clock to say, how long do I have to sit here for, you know? And, you know, in school, just showing up gets you a C a lot of times. A C just comes with showing up. It's your attendance, right? So we see that routine processes contaminate the environment. So what are our issues, right? Our issues are bureaucratic entrenchment, sorry. Like the government is in everything, everything. Like the problem that I told you about the schools, they weren't serving their own agenda. Like the first time I registered my kids for school, the secretary tells me, you don't need to send your kids school supplies. We provide those. But she was lying. She was baiting me because not sending your kids school supplies is a red flag. And before they ever even met my children, they were trying to set me up for red flags to be applied to my record. You know, why did they do that? Well, bureaucratic entrenchment. When the government has its hands in things, when they're directing your education, when they're directing your medical care to suit their agenda, it's a problem because everybody does their bidding, you know. So that's a big issue with America. You got to get the government out of things. That's why the Constitution was given to limit the powers of government. But we've thrown out the Constitution. We've erased it and decided that it was more important to get things done. And we've developed standard practices and processes by which we get these things done. And these practices, you know, they have boxes that they check. And they make sure that they get their boxes checked, even if it doesn't reflect truth, even if it makes lies look like truth. They don't care because they're not serving their own agenda, they're serving someone else's, and when they get the job done, they get a reward, you know? You gotta be aware this is why the Constitution was given, so that we don't wind up like this. So go back to this question of why do people hate me? Why do people hate me? Because I put limits on you, you know? Because I tell you can't do that. You can't do that to people. That's what you want to do. You're drunk on your power. You think that you're right to do it because you get a paycheck for doing it. You're wrong. You do it. It makes you a Nazi. Don't do it, you know? Don't don't do it. It makes you a murderer. Don't do it. Don't do it. Plain and simple. Don't do it, you know? Some other issues. Our disposition to technological solutions. and our arrogant faith in our own destiny. Well, we are overly reliant on technological solutions. Even me here, as I'm speaking to people, I'm doing it through a cell phone that doesn't have a card for making telephone calls, but it works pretty well for uploading videos, right? Um, but I wouldn't be able to speak to the world if I didn't have this connection, you know? Um, we we do have a dependence on technology, and in some ways it robs us of actual connections, because maybe if I didn't have this, maybe I would be out there looking for people, and I've contemplated when I wasn't making videos who I could connect with, but then I look at the scores of people that I could connect with that are out there already, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be a part of that bunch because they're radical, you know. They're they got inflated ideology. They have unrealistic expectations. They're big-headed, you know. And yeah, this is where they gather in and they say be a part of this group because we're supreme, you know. I am superior in every way, you know. But it's like if you go be a part of that, then you get indoctrinated with the culture and you can't move the culture. It's it's really hard to move people who bow to manipulation. You know, that's why God threw Adam and Eve out the garden when they bowed to the serpent. Because you can't work with people once they're bent over. You can only work with people who are upright. If you want to lead people, not rope them along on chains, you know. You want to actually lead people, you need people upright. You can't lead people who are bent over. It just doesn't work that way. Um, so our arrogant faith in our own destiny, right? We have this idea that America is an experiment. And we use this experiment to justify doing a lot of things wrong. And we forget the actual reason why our country was founded. You know, we forget that we came out of something. And we've actually become, that thing that we were taken out of, you know. Um, we've actually made a partnership with that thing that we were taken out of. And so in our quest to build a better world, to start off as free men, that's why they call it an experiment, because it was something that had never been done before, where the people ruled themselves instead of having a king, government of the people, for the people, by the people, right? But they messed it up. They messed it up really because they were afraid of things being outside of their control. They were afraid of not being able to grow their power. They couldn't trust in the humility that comes with just speaking into the air and putting it out there for people to absorb, so that you could make people better, so that you could make them upright. They couldn't do it, and so they turned to this place where we abuse our positions of power and our placement in people's life to grab control on them, to subdue them, to incarcerate them, to control their every move, even if they don't want you controlling them, you know. And that's what it means to have arrogant faith in your own destiny, when you have to have everything under control because you believe that this is what's going to make you the great country, and it's not the premises that we were founded on. You understand? It's not the way that we're supposed to be, you know. um and you really screwed things up when you started calling us an experiment. I believe that those people who called us an experiment, those philosophers, they were just trying to get their hands in here. Because if you dehumanize your objective, if you call it an experiment, if you say it's a necessary process, let's just see if we can do this, You dumb down the people and you make them go along with things that they ought not go along with, you know. If you put the blame on the institution and then say you got to protect the integrity of the institution, you know, you do this for the institution and the institution protects you so you don't face any punishment, but then you got to protect the integrity of the institution. All this kind of logic, you know, it all stems down from Aristotle, whether you realize it or not. And I'm aware that, you know, he wrote some brilliant sounding things, but if you actually pay attention to his style of government, it turns people against people. It makes children rise up and kill their parents. It makes brothers kill each other to preserve their power. It sends friends cutting down each other as well. It's a world that you can't trust, you know. Aristotle didn't build our nation. He didn't start this, you know. The people who started this nation had this idea that we ought to be free, you know. They had this idea that we ought to be self-governed, you know. And it is a law that makes you upright. It's not learning philosophy. It's learning the law and how to apply it within your life. Like in democracy, it fails because the ideas are too complex for most people to understand. But basically, if you don't respect the rights of another person, you lose your own rights, you know. The whole system becomes fragile and it collapses upon itself. So if I want the right to a trial, I can't go accusing my neighbor and ruining their reputation all over the place. You can't do that. Do you understand? You can't do that. You can say what happened here, but I can't go around and ruin my neighbor's reputation. You know, I can't go around and say that they drink wine when I have no idea what they drink in their house. I can't go around and say they smoke weed when I have no idea if they smoke or not. I can't go around and make up little stories about them like this. This is what I'm saying when I say ruin their reputation, you know. It's wrong. It's completely wrong, right? Yeah, I'm going to leave out Aristotle's law of contradiction. I was going to explain that in here, but I only have like 3 minutes left. Um, if you will occupy yourself and commit yourself to building a better nation, if you keep your eyes forward, like God, he says, keep your eyes on me. You know, look up. Don't get involved in these things down here because they're going to drag you down, right? But look up. So you decide on, I'm going to build a better world. And in my country, we have these laws. And if we adhere to these laws, then we'll become better people. We'll be able to stand upright instead of being bent over in manipulation. And yeah, people might hate me for saying things like this, you know. They might hate me because they're like, we're not doing anything wrong. This is our job. You just don't know how government functions, blah, blah, blah. You're so ignorant. You just want to tear up things you don't understand, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I don't mean to be mocking, but that's how they sound. Not realizing that, hey, Jesse talks to God. Jesse actually knows more, you know, than is written in the history books. Jesse can look through time and see what happened and what caused it because God teaches me, you know. And a lot of people aren't going to like that, you know. They tell me, convert to Judaism. Do I want to convert to Judaism? No. And it's not because I have anything against the Jewish people. I love the Jewish people like they're my brothers. But I can't convert to Judaism because they follow the Rambam. And the Rambam says you don't need to study the Torah. The Torah is the blueprint of life given by God, right? He says don't study the Torah. Only study the Torah that he wrote, the Sefer Torah he wrote. And then for 1 hour, and then the rest of the time, devote your time to studying philosophy. It's such a misguidance there. because he doesn't understand where he came out of, you know. He doesn't understand, hey, Judas Maccabees, that was the Jewish Messiah way back when. He doesn't understand how they fell, why they fell, what happened, what built the nation that they had to come down, you know, because it was Aristotle. That was Aristotle's creation then, and it's Aristotle's creation that has rose again today that we must once again take down. And I'm not saying let's go cut people down. I'm saying let's turn to do the right thing and return to God and return to our laws. And in this we find that we give the devil no room to work. We give the enemy no room to come after us. Because if we have standards, they can't trespass, you know. We hedge them out with the law, and they must bow, you know, because it's the law of the land. You know, the Jews, they call us the law of the covenant, or I mean the land of the covenant, you know. So it's about time we learn what that means, and the power of it and what we can do with it, you know. Not bowing to manipulation, but developing ourselves to be strong in the law so that the enemy can't get to us, you know. Why do people hate me? Because I got the strategy for how to overcome them, okay? I'm past 31 minutes now, so I'm going to have to say have a good day. God bless.